Good morning, CC families. This is week 17, and I wanted to hop on here real quick and tell you what we did in class today for anyone who missed it or just want review at home. As always, we start with geography as our first thing, and this week we had the rivers, East rivers, and so to show you those, let me get my pencil. We don't really have any mnemonics or anything, but since some of them, they'll make sense as we go along. Okay, so St. Lawrence River. I'm gonna start up here. This is my St. Lawrence River. It goes right down into Lake Ontario. So that's my first one, St. Lawrence River. And then I have my Ohio River. And the Ohio River, of course, it outlines the bottom of Ohio, but it goes all the way up here into these Allegheny Mountains, and then it comes all the way down here, dumps out into the Mississippi River. So that's your Ohio River. And on your black line maps, it sometimes looks confusing because they also have the canals marked, which we will get to. But just remember that it starts up here in the Allegheny Mountains, runs all the way down here into the Mississippi. That's your Ohio River. Next, Mississippi. So if we start down here at Louisiana or the Mississippi Delta, down there, then we can go all the way up to the top. That's my Mississippi River. Mississippi divides it in half. All right, and then we can look for our Missouri River, which starts in Missouri and goes up and hooks up here into the Rocky Mountains. That's my Missouri River. Missouri. And our last one is our Arkansas River, which was fun because we have a couple little Arkansas babies in our class. So we start down here in Arkansas and we go up to like Pikes Peak is basically where it is. So this is my Arkansas River. Down here, there's a little, I don't know, like a space in the river on our map. I don't know why. It's just like it didn't print correctly. So anyway, it starts down here in Arkansas, goes all the way up to, actually, it's more like Mount Elbert is where it originates. So those are our rivers, and we just reviewed those and went over them multiple times. So let's do the area of a square. If you search through YouTube, and there's a lady who's done CC for a long time, I think her name is Mary Kay Bryant. She kind of came up with some ditties at some point that just circulate through the CC communities, and that is the geometry songs. And so I've been using that, and I just stick with that same tune. So we have the area of a square equals length of its side squared, S squared. The area of a square equals length of its side squared, S squared. And that is math. Subject is another song. I have a lot of songs this week, just because, I don't know, they stick in my head, sorry. So this week, English is the subject. And this is a mouthful, but when they get to the essentials class and they actually has to start diagramming and parsing these sentences, it is so helpful to have these definitions memorized. And so that's the tools that we're having you guys learn right now. So the subject. The subject is that part of the sentence that says something about this. Oh, I probably screwed it up. The subject is the part of the sentence about which something is being said. So the subject is that part of the sentence about which something is being said. The subject is that part of the sentence about which something is being said. The subject is that part of the sentence about which something is being said. Sentence parts, sentence parts. That's how it goes. All right, moving on, 19th Amendment. All right, so 19th Amendment has to do all with women's rights. So we are going to use our right hand only for the motion. So we took our left hand and we stuck it behind our back. And we said, tell me about the 19th Amendment. And then we did an E hand. Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony. So we had our E hand for Elizabeth, our S hand for Susan. Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony led the women's suffrage movement. Okay, so we're like leading, we're marching movement in the United States, which resulted in the 19th Amendment. Remember, so we did 16, 17, 18, 19. 19th Amendment in 1920 that granted women the right to vote. And then we're going to make a check mark like we voted. Okay, so from the top, tell me about the 19th Amendment. Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony led the women's suffrage movement in the United States, resulting in the 19th Amendment in 1920. They granted women the right to vote. They granted women the right to vote. So there we go. That's it. Latin, John 1:4 is in ipso vita erat et vita erat lux hominum. Again, that's just the tune from King Things, as best I can do it, which means in him was life, and the life was the light of man. And so we just repeated that back and forth. Timeline. Napoleon, crowned Emperor of France. So in hand for Napoleon. Napoleon! And then we're going to show that he was emperor. And anytime we show emperor or royalty, we show that we have a sash from our shoulder down to our hip. So Napoleon, crowned Emperor of France. And remember, this is our F hand. We've used it a couple times. We used it for feathers. So we're using France again. So Napoleon, crowned Emperor of France. Liberation of, we were in bondage, but now we're free. Liberation of South America. So we're kind of tracing out South America like this. And then we're doing S hand, and then we're showing down to south. Liberation of South America. The War of 1812. These are my bombs bursting in air. That's when the song was written. And so the War of 1812, this is my bomb. So boom. Liberation of South America. The War of 1812. The Missouri Compromise. Remember Missouri Compromise, we said, let's have some free states and some slave states. So we point to our head. We had an idea and we said we're going to come together, but we're going to have equal number of slave states and free states. So great idea. Come together. Missouri Compromise. The immigrants. Okay, so immigrants, we're going to start here and we're going to flock. Wait, flock to America. So immigrants, we're going to have a little hand. We're going to flock them to America. And America is a melting pot. So we're going to show that we have a big pot. We're going to stir that pot together because we're a melting pot of people. So immigrants flock to America. The Monroe Doctrine. The Monroe Doctrine was our first foreign policy. It said, hey, we own and we claim all of this land. Any act against us by any other nation is a form of aggression. So don't mess with us. The Monroe Doctrine. We're showing we got all this land all the way. Romantic period of the arts. So romantic period had a lot of emotion. So we're going to do like a little clown face and we're going to go down and be sad. And we're going to be happy. And then we're going to be sad. Happy. So that's how that goes. So Napoleon, crowned Emperor of France. Liberation of South America. The War of 1812. The Missouri Compromise. Immigrants flock to America. The Monroe Doctrine. Romantic period of the arts. So have fun with that. I know it's goofy. Then to the second four elements of the periodic table. I was trying to do the tune of I am a CH, I am a CH, I am a CHRESTIAN, but my kids all know the other tune, and so it's been super hard for me to switch back between both. So I will sing it with the old tune. Feel free to continue with the CHRESTIAN song if you know it and feel comfortable. But my main focus is motions on this, not so much the song. All right, so 5, boron, super boring. 5, boron, B11. 6, carbon, C12. So we're like a car. 6, carbon, C12. 7, go to bed. Nitrogen, Ni14. 8, oxygen, take a deep breath. Oxygen, O16. So those are the motions that we use to help us to remember that. So if you remember back, it was 1, hydrogen, H1, 2, point to your heel, helium, He4, 3, lithium, Li7, 4, beryllium, Be9. Yes, Be9. 5 boron, B11 6 carbon, C12 7 nitrogen, N14 8 oxygen, O18 or 16. Sorry, it's 16. All right, so that is science, and that wraps up everything that we did for new grammar. And this week we studied Andrew Wyeth, and we painted winter scenes using a white crayon to show the snow. So this is Andrew Wyeth. Most famous is his Christine painting right there. He has a very interesting and colorful life. So if you go researching him on YouTube for your kids, make sure that you preview it before you let them watch it, because he has some series called I think it's Hilda. Anyway, she is not modest, and so you might want to preview those, like I said. So anyway, but super interesting, beautiful, amazing artwork that is so obsessed with details that things look just like a photograph. So anyway, super interesting. Then we did our science experiment, which we learned about starches. I was looking to see if I have my paper in here. And so the purpose of our experiment this past week was to identify what things have starch in them. And in order to do that, we took iodine and we dipped it on, or we put a little drop on different things to find if it changed colors. If it changed colors, that was a chemical reaction, and we got to see that it changed to a dark purple or almost black, and then that told us that that item had starch in it. So for example, bread. We took a piece of bread, we dipped iodine, dropped it on it, and it turned really dark. It just looks so nasty and gross. So that's evidence that there is starch within that. And then we tried other things like, I think it was the sugar and cheese, which didn't have starch. So anyway, that was fun to talk about that. Iodine is toxic, and so I had to use it. The kids did not use it. And let's see. Oh, and it does stain clothes and skin. So if you recreate this experiment, which you totally can, because iodine is easy to find, just be aware if you go testing things. So that was it. Next week is, I think, pick your own topic. Check Mrs. Fletcher's email as it comes out for speeches, and we will be moving on to week 18, which will be the end of our third quarter. So I can't wait to see you guys again. If you have any questions, like always, give me a text message or email me, and I will do my best to help answer or explain anything. All right, have a great week. Bye.